Hello and welcome to our introduction to the point-slope form. So we know our slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So if we are lucky enough to have a teacher who gives us the starting point of our line, that y-intercept. Our teacher is so kind to give us that y-intercept and a slope. Well, we know exactly what our starting point is, we know what our slope is, and we can very easily communicate our line and what it should look like to anybody else in the world, regardless of language, just by giving them that one equation. You know, there's no English translation necessary. But what do we do if instead we have a really mean teacher like me who gives us some kind of point out in space? Like that. Well, then we have to start using our English to say, well, a slope of 2 and a point of 1, -5, or a slope of 3 and a point of 4, 0. You know, that's not very efficient, not nearly as efficient as that y equals mx plus b equation. And what if I'm trying to tell somebody in Russia? You know, what if somebody in Russia is trying to read my report and I want to convey exactly what line I'm talking about? Well, it would be very difficult for them if they did not know English to identify what this means. So we created a secondary linear equation, and it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And what I'd like you to do for right now is just pause the video and ask yourself, what do you recognize in here? Well, what do those variables mean? What do you recognize? And then come back to us. Okay, so there's our equation. I've got my slope of 3, that seems like it's important, and a point of x1, y1, 4, 0. Just like when we do slope, I'm going to label those as x1 and y1. And here what we're going to do with our equation is we're just going to substitute in those numbers. And what's nice is that stays the same, that's still the slope. And they tell us exactly where to put y1 and x1 if I don't erase it. So m is still our slope, the y1, x1 doesn't change. So let's substitute in those values. Y minus, and what's y1? Let's check that out up there. Minus 0 equals my slope, my m, of 3 times x minus, and what is x1? x1 is 4. And that's all we're going to do for right now. You could distribute that 3 to both parts and then move the 0 over. So you could do all of that simplifying, but that's the basic structure. And now anybody around the world, regardless of their language, can identify exactly what line I'm talking about if they saw that equation. Let's try another example. There's my equation up top. I'll label my slope again is m. So a slope of 2 and through this point x1, y1. So y minus y1. What's y1? y1 is -5 equals m. What's my m? My slope. It's 2 times x minus x1. And that's all there is to it. So that's y plus 5, the minus cancels out to become a plus 5 equals 2 times x minus 1. That's my final equation. Like I said, we could simplify, but we're not focusing on that right now. This is just our introduction. Now 9 and 10 are a little bit different. I'm not giving you all the information. There's x1, there's y1, there's x2, there's y2. But recall our equation, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So why don't you pause the video and see if you can identify what I still need to find. Okay, so come on back to us. If you haven't paused the video, pause it, see if you can find that. If you have found it, we're given y1. That's cool. That's right there. We were also given x1. That's right there. We were not given our slope. We need to find the slope. And how do we find the slope between 2 points? Well, our slope, remember, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I had an old math teacher when I was in school who would say it's the Elmer-Fudd rule. Put the y's over the 1. And it's been quite some time since then, but I still remember Mr. Roth's wonderful analogy. It just stuck with me over all those years. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals 24 over 6, which is 4, or 4 over 1. So now I have my y1, I have my x1, I have my slope. Now we can go ahead and write that final equation. So y minus, what's y1? Bring that down, that's 9, equals my slope that we just found, times x minus x1. And that's it. That's all there is to it. I'd like you to pause the video and try number 10. See if you can solve that one. And then unpause and check your work. Okay, let's try 10. I need to find my slope between 2 points. y2 minus y1. 1 minus 5 over 4 minus 0. Negative 4 over 4 is just negative 1. So my slope is negative 1. Y minus y1 equals m, my slope of negative 1, times x minus x1. That's our final answer. That's our introduction to point-slope form. Come back next time and we'll talk more about simplifying and moving fluidly between the two types of equations.